I will. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. Welcome back. We missed Monday. First Monday I missed in a while, I think, but we're back today. And welcome to the stream. Give me a second. Got to tweet out the link. We are live talking about the top 5 most important games for Michigan football this year. Copy, paste. Boom, boom. That's it. There we go. Oh, Wednesday. Happy hump day, people. Hope you are all having a glorious Wednesday. We'll get going in a couple minutes here. Just let people flow in. Just a couple minutes early as always. Going to implement a strict 9 p.m. Eastern time cutoff tonight. All right. If anyone's been watching the show White Lotus, the first season just concluded. It's on HBO. It's like a very dark comedy, dramedy sort of show, and season finale. So if you have watched it, don't spoil it, because I'm watching it tonight. That's what I'm doing. But I've been hard at work with video stuff and day job stuff and all my running and stuff, and I just don't have time anymore. I'm going to eat a pecan. Let's Toast Media. Salute Mason Brew. Go Blue. Welcome, buddy. Cade Sawinski, another pull walk in here. Dax Hill for Heisman. Good luck, man. If you put money on it, you're going to make a lot of money, because not a lot of people are saying those words in that sentence. Not a lot of people are putting money on Dax Hill for Heisman this year. You just have to have offensive influence if you're going to win a Heisman anymore. Steve Adams, welcome to the stream. It was hilarious. I want to show you guys an actual tweet that came through. So I made this video last night pretty quickly, if I'm being honest here. And here, let me show you guys a tweet. I thought it was really funny. So this is just from the Mason Brew account, right? Just saying, watch this video, blah, blah, blah. I come up with the tweet for this. And then this guy says, F5 games, all of them are important. And literally the second sentence of the article. Now, I'm sure some of you read that sentence and have a response similar to, quote, every game is just as important as the next. And it was hilarious. Like, I called it. All of them are important. Oh, that was a good time. That made me chuckle. There's always one, man. We had a guy in this last live stream we had, where someone came in and said, like, I'd be happy with 1-11 if the 1 is Ohio State, right? So it's like, this question was poised to have a lot of differing opinions on what constitutes an important game, what's not an important game, things like that. So I tried to explain kind of my ordering process here, right? Considering fan program relationship at the University of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh's future, considering last year's losses, recruiting ramifications, where on the schedule each of the games landed, all of those things. They're important to consider. Oh, excuse me. Because believe it or not, I don't think all games are created equal. Some games are more important than the others. They are. Okay, it's 8:30. It's time to go. It's go time, guys. All right, first, number 5. Or actually, first, oh my gosh. Hold on. Oh, I don't have... Oh, I have to have it open. Yes. Hold on. Here we go. Members. Got to shout you guys out Yes, this is from last week. Yes, I'm slightly lazy by doing this. But hold on, we got one new member. I apologize for the delay. I have to pull it up. I want to make sure I shout him out appropriately because, hey, I promise these people, if they're willing to spend an extra buck or two to support the channel, they deserve a shout out. So, Don Sean, the latest member of the channel, welcome. Noah Schroeder, Dylan Girk, Alex Fuller, Aaron Bryant, Andrew Decker, Sam Lee, Terry Pender, Keno Bear, and Logan Evans. I appreciate you guys for becoming a member. Head over to the Maize n Brew YouTube channel, press the join button, select a tier. That's how you can become a member and get me to say your name if you want to. So, with that being said, let's jump into it. Again, we got 30 minutes, 29 minutes. Let's jump right into it. That's the number one. I just spoiled the number one team, didn't I? Well, switch over to small head Steven. There we go. Move this over there. Oops, let's move it up a little bit. We're doing it live, people. All right, number 5, Indiana. Okay? Now, why Indiana? This could be seen as a weird choice, right? Indiana, not really. When you consider kind of Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Washington, right? You would think that would be your top 5 right there, as like these are traditionally the best programs that are on the schedule. But my reasoning for Indiana at number 5 was because they're an ascending program. Okay, I kind of put them recently in the past couple years. They've been on the same sort of tier as like Michigan State when it comes to overall performance, recruiting, their kind of prominence in the country, right? They're not really a team that's been competing for championships. Last year they were, but you know what I mean. They were a team that were usually hovering around 500, if not worse than that. I mean, Michigan had a 24-game win streak against them, right? So I put them on this list because if you start giving them momentum and they start racking up wins year over year against teams like Michigan, that means they're likely going to be a competitor in the Big Ten East. And what that means is you have another team that's now recruiting at the level, or at least getting close to the level of the second tier of the Big Ten. So Wisconsin, Michigan, Penn State, that second tier, Indiana starts becoming part of that discussion if they are able to year over year beat a team like Michigan, right? They can start entering those recruiting battles and start winning them feasibly because they can look at the trajectory of the programs, and they have a strong case, Indiana would, where they could say, what a great catch by Kojo there, Cornelius Johnson. Indiana would have a really strong case. We're saying, listen, we lost to them 24 games in a row, and now all of a sudden we're turning the tides on Michigan, right? This is the direction that these programs are headed, right? And the reason Indiana's number 5 and not Wisconsin is because Wisconsin's already in that second tier, okay? If they beat Michigan, sure, it's not great, but it's not like they're ascending a level or an ascending program. Wisconsin was Wisconsin. They are what they are. Beating Michigan, they're pretty much 50-50 in the Harbaugh era. So a loss doesn't really like surprise a whole lot of people, and it doesn't buck a trend. You know what I mean? So that's something where it's like Indiana ascending, and you want to keep them from doing that as much as possible. And they're in the Big Ten East. So considering the tiebreakers when it comes to who's going to Indianapolis at the end of Big Ten season, divisional record is one of the first tiebreakers compared to like Big Ten record, right? So it goes, if I'm remembering this correctly, it goes by like Big Ten record and then the next one. So right, if two teams are, what would it be? How many games do you have in the conference? Like nine conference games, right? So if two teams are 6-3 in the conference, Yeah, 6-3. If you're 6-3 in the conference, 2 teams are, then the next tiebreaker is what is your winning percentage in your division, the Big Ten East, right? And that's something where compare losing to Indiana versus losing to Wisconsin. If you lose to Wisconsin, that obviously won't affect your Big Ten East winning percentage. Whereas Indiana, obviously, that would hurt that. So that's kind of my reasoning for why Indiana is number 5 on the list. So that's where I'm at. Okay, moving on to number 4 here. Number 4, Washington. Okay, big part of this is timing. I was reading the YouTube comments. One dude was talking about recruiting and how like a win against Washington would help recruiting efforts in the Pacific Northwest. One non-conference game like that is not going to really turn the tides in terms of that, you know. It's going to be something like, sure, it's great you beat Washington, but it's not going to make like a bunch of kids from the state of Washington all of a sudden interested in Michigan, right? Maybe you can get an inroad with a single player, but it's not like a win over Washington would establish a pipeline, okay? So my inclusion of Washington is not for recruiting purposes. I don't think that's realistic, but it is for the timing of the season. Okay, where Washington's second game, and in terms of getting fans in the stadium, getting fans on board for this season, because I think we can all agree the level of interest in this season from Michigan fans is pretty much at an all-time low. I think that's pretty safe to say. So in terms of getting fans on board, getting them interested in the season, having faith, getting behind the team, I think there's no better game than Washington. It's a night game in the Big House, a maze out, which, has there ever been a maze out? I was at the first night game against Notre Dame in 2011. That was my freshman year. It was amazing. Where you had the pom-poms, I remember that, but I don't think that was like a maze out. At least I don't remember it. But yeah, Saad Malik said it well. I think this would be higher starting off on... I thought this would be higher. Washington, starting off on the wrong foot, could snowball dramatically this season. So you're right. You're right to a certain degree, right? If Michigan gets absolutely smacked by Washington, right? And again, I say it all the time, but context is really important in a lot of these things. Wow, that was a stupid play by that quarterback. Hold on. Can we back up? Look at how dumb this quarterback is. You're not going to get the first down, okay? Can we, if a Michigan quarterback, if Cade McNamara does this, I'm going to lose my mind. Look how stupid this is. Yeah, it's 3rd and 15. Understand that you're only going to get 7 yards. Getting an extra 2 yards by you doing this is way more likely to get you killed than anything else. That's really terrible. Anyway, where was I? So, it's a good point, Saad Malik, in that starting off on their own foot could snowball dramatically. But context is extremely important, right? Where if Michigan gets smacked by Washington, that's where you could see a snowball. Michigan could play extremely well. Say Washington turns into like a top 10 team, whatever. If Michigan plays in a one-possession game and ultimately falls, sure, I think a lot of Michigan fans would be disappointed with that, right? It's not great. But it wouldn't be something where like people would be like, oh, throw away the season, right? It's not Big Ten. It's not later in the season, so your playoff hopes are still alive. If there's a loss that you can really take and still have all of your goals in front of you in terms of Big Ten championship appearance, Big Ten championship, playoff appearance, this Washington game is the one that you can lose. Of course, you don't ever want to lose. But from just a realistic standpoint, that is the game where if Michigan's going to lose, a really, really heartbreaking close game, this is the game you want it to be. Okay? So that's why they're not higher. No recruiting ramifications, really. A lot to gain from it, despite not necessarily having a lot to lose. So I mean, in terms of like fan relationship, you can't have a dud in it, right? And that's why it makes the list, and that's why it's higher than Indiana. Dylan Girk, member of the channel, welcome. He said it best. You can still make goals happen with the loss to Washington. That's it. And it's way more important from a fan base and like program health perspective than anything else. Is Washington going to be nice this year? I know the Pac-12 is usually mid. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I need to read up more about Washington. I think their defense is supposed to be really solid this year. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about them. But it's gonna be a big game at home. I'm hoping to honestly do more research on teams. I've been so focused on like Michigan, that it takes a lot of time to branch out and really learn deeply about other teams. So that's what a catch. So that's something I still need to do. Duncan Timms, to be honest. Okay, let's move on to number 3 here. And this was a sad one, man. I went back as a part of number 3 here, because this is at Penn State. And I was looking back at like Michigan's last performance on the road against ranked teams, and Michigan has 2 ranked wins over top 25 opponents, 2020 in Minnesota and 2018 against Michigan State, who was number 24 at the time. That was the DPJ catch with the Paul Bunyan pose. I was there, 2018 of that game. That was great. But beyond that, Michigan's never beaten a top 20 team on the road since 2006. Isn't that a crazy stat? That's not a Harbaugh problem. That's a Michigan problem, which is now a Harbaugh problem. But you know what I mean? To go back and not have a road win over a top 20 opponent in 15 years, that's wild. That's pretty crazy. And I want to go back to like any other team and see what that is. Like, that's such a weird thing. But I did put on, like, I think Penn State deserves to be on the list because of that reason, right? If you're really bucking the trend, that's a streak that you can end, right? That would go a long way going into a hostile environment. Something that just, like, Harbaugh as a whole, Michigan as a whole just haven't done. Brutal, right? So beyond going on the road to a potential top 20 team, what a great cut. Man, Haskins is so good. He is so good. The other reason, right? Beyond going on the road, being a top 20 opponent, whatever. Recruiting. It's a big one. Okay. Penn State came in and got like 3 or 4 top 15 recruits in the state of Michigan, if not more. So they recruit Michigan really hard. Something that they've really put an effort towards. So that's a big reason, keeping them out of your state. You know, wins against them, again, won't do a whole lot. One win won't do, that much. But in terms of Big Ten programs that recruit at the level of Michigan and go after the state of Michigan hard, Penn State's at the top of that list. They just are. And that's something that you do every single thing you can to get an advantage when you have programs like that coming in, trying to poach guys from your state, and a win can help solidify that, okay? Especially when you're the home state trying to defend your turf, those wins become a little, like, just a bit more important when you're talking about that. And then what else did I have? It was at the end of the season as well, okay? So the further along you get in the season, losses will hurt your goals, right? This isn't rocket science. I know I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything here too revolutionary, but you lose late in the season, you're a lot less likely to be making the Big Ten championship, especially, oh my God, this game, man, this effing game. What a gut punch. What a gut punch this was. Cool. You're only down 7. You're going into the half. Here's a punt. Nope. Here's the ball. Right? And this is, can I just do a short tangent here? Don Brown's defense last year was bad. It was bad. But when you're down 14-7, you're going to get the ball with 3 timeouts, 1:15 on the clock before halftime with a chance to go down and tie the game before halftime, and then your punter gives the ball away, right, with a minute left, damn near red zone. What do you do with that, right? That just sucks. So this isn't me defending Don Brown. Last year sucked enough without these mishaps, but you add these mishaps, and it just turns into a cluster. Right? Just an absolute nightmare scenario. So that's kind of, okay, where was I? Yeah, so it's end of the season, and that's another thing to consider, where all your goals start to go away the later your losses in the season come. Right? If there's any big postseason hopes, they're dashed with a loss to Penn State more likely than not. Dylan Girk, with the question, give me a second here. Give me a second. Sorry, something came up. How come first road Big Ten game wasn't on the list? So this was you're talking about at Wisconsin, right? So why is that not on the list? I put that at number 6 on my list. So it didn't make this because they're Big Ten West. So in terms of like Big Ten East tiebreakers, right? I think Penn State is more important in that regard. Recruiting, I think Penn State makes more of an effort to get inroads at Michigan than Wisconsin necessarily does. And then Indiana was ultimately the team I compared against Wisconsin. And Indiana, again, in the Big Ten East, Indiana's an ascending program, and they're more likely to make inroads in the state of Michigan because they're able to like move up in the ranks of the Big Ten, and Indiana's year-over-year recruiting has been improving to a point where they're going to start competing with Michigan unless Michigan really like keeps them from ascending further. So that's kind of why at Wisconsin, the first Big Ten road game didn't make the list. Okay. Remember the walk-off Manningham touchdown against Penn State Big House 2005? Even in down years back then, they could win big games. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, we got 12 minutes. Let's go number 2. Number 2, Ohio State. Now, this was one I had a really, really hard time placing. I had an extremely tough time placing this on my list. And we're going back to 2019 highlights here because that's all we got. We don't got 2020 highlights. So Ohio State, obviously number 2 on the list. And I put it here not because I feel that Michigan needs to beat Ohio State. Michigan, there's obviously a talent discrepancy there between these programs right now. You could argue there's even a wider coaching gap at this point. I think this year for Michigan is looking a lot like 2017, right? You got a lot of talent. You got some gaps with promising young players that just need to evolve a little bit. Oh my God, this fucking play. I'm not supposed to curse, but I cannot believe that this fumble just bounced up into his arms like that. This was the play where I was like, this game's over. This game's over. You force a fumble, and because it comes out of his hand, that redirects the safety and gets Metellus. This play I lost my mind. Okay, let's get back to what I was saying. Losing this game huge, like big time, like 2018, 2019 levels of a loss would likely mean a really, really bad future for Jim Harbaugh, right? I just don't think that he can survive another beatdown like that. I don't know if he can survive like a 3+ touchdown loss again to Ohio State. Go back to the 2017 game. Of course you're going to strive to it. No one in the right mind thought that 2017 Michigan team was going to beat Ohio State, right? Nobody thought that. But Michigan had the ball with less than 3 minutes left, down a score, with a chance to take a lead with John O'Corn as your quarterback. That was 2017, right? And it was a brilliant game plan. I don't think I was doing game analysis at that point. Maybe I was. It was really early on if I was, but that game was expertly called and really well executed from Michigan's standpoint. That's just the level that I think is expected to get back at, and that's what really I need to see for me to be confident in Michigan's chances in the future, okay? Rome wasn't built in a day. Ohio State losing to Michigan doesn't happen in a year, especially not with a new staff. I just don't think that's going to happen. Udi Biga, I'm going to this game, my first OSU game. Hopefully it's not an embarrassing loss. Good luck with that. Dylan Girk, don't need to beat Ohio State this year, but we need to strive for that. It has to be the goal, or what are we doing? I mean, yeah, that's 100%. That's 100%. It needs to be the goal. And go back and watch my video. I did a video about kind of talking about like the mindset of focusing on Ohio State and kind of what I feel Michigan needs to do to make up ground against Ohio State, and like just kind of thoughts around that. Jonathan CO, I feel like we don't want it enough. One only goal each season should be to beat this team. I mean, what does want mean? Right? What does want? Oh, I don't want to beat Ohio State. That's like these players and these coaches, you don't think they want to beat Ohio State? You don't think these games are like haunting for them? Right? They're the ones actually playing it. Sure, it haunts us fans, but they're the ones who are actually getting their ass beat on the field. Right? So in terms of like wanting it, it's more of like, okay, we want it more. How is that influencing our behavior? What are we doing extra in order to account for that, right? If we want it more, how is our behavior changing? Because otherwise, just because I want it more doesn't mean that everything is going to be solved. That's not going to bring my talent level up, right? That's not going to fix the schematic issues with the team or with the coaching. That's not going to do anything. Wanting it more doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. Wanting it more only matters when it turns into actionable items day over day, week over week, month over month to get to a better place schematically, from a talent standpoint, from an execution standpoint, coaching standpoint. Everything needs to simply improve to close that gap. And then you're probably going to need a little bit of luck. All right? That's how it goes. So that's where I'm at. But the reason they're number 2 on this list is because I just need to see a similar performance to 2017, where you're not, I don't think it's expected that Michigan will win or really even be, like be in contention for a Big Ten title. They need to have a better plan. They need to have a better plan. They need to execute better. There's a lot of things they need to do better. And that's what I need from this year for me to feel confident about the future. There just needs, that gap needs to close, and that comes from talent, which I think they're getting on the defensive side, but a lot of execution, which goes back to coaching, right? And schematic changes as well. Listen, I can say all this. It's not even a silver bullet, okay? You're going to need Ohio State to have a little bit of an off game as well, because there's a talent gap and they're expertly coached, okay? That's just how it is. But Michigan just needs to stick with it, right? They need to execute towards their ceiling, which they haven't in the past couple of years against Ohio State. And they just need to stick around. Just stick around and give themselves the chance for mistakes from Ohio State to matter. Every team makes mistakes. It's just a matter of when those mistakes happen and if the game is still competitive at the point of those mistakes. And that's just all you need. So that's why they're number 2. It's more about context. It's more about trajectory of the program. And like it or not, that game is a huge barometer of where you're at as a coach, where you're at as a program if you're University of Michigan. All right, number 1, game you cannot lose. The game that you cannot lose. It's at MSU. You simply cannot do it, okay? In the video, I talked about all the things that I felt could have been done with the win last year, right? Beat Ohio State, first-year coach who had, 6 months to coach the team when he got to East Lansing. After initially turning down the job, got sent a ton of money. Dude had a 1-year head coaching job at Colorado, a losing season. That's his entire head coaching resume. And then he comes in at Michigan State, and honestly, I called it the most embarrassing loss in Harbaugh's tenure, and I stand by it. I think it's an inexcusable loss. You could have put Michigan State to bed. I'm not going to say permanently, right? But you make the job of Mel Tucker a lot harder if you beat them down in that game. Instead of 2-4 with a win over your main rival, you're 1-5. You're a pretty rough football team, and you have to convince recruits and transfers to come to your program after that sort of year. Good luck doing it. Good luck doing it. Like what are you, it was the most defeating, disappointing performance I think I've ever seen in the Jim Harbaugh era, and I don't think it's close. So that's why it's important. You have 2 losses to a coach who had to build a team through a pandemic, build relationships through a pandemic. You have a huge talent advantage over them. It'd be crazy, honestly. And I, in my video where I went over kind of the different record scenarios, right? What keeps Michigan, or what keeps Harbaugh in Ann Arbor? What scenarios does he get fired from his head coaching position? And I think the consensus throughout that discussion, throughout that live stream, was you lose to Michigan State, you're likely done. Weren't they like a 30-point favorite? Lewis Blake asks. They were like a 21.5-point favorite, if not more. If not more. I created a hype video for that game because it was hilarious. They had 7 turnovers against Rutgers and lost to Rutgers, and Michigan just thumped Minnesota. I can't tell you how confident I was going into that game. Anyone in their right mind would have been confident in Michigan just thumping Michigan State. Seriously. It's the most baffling loss. It's the most baffling loss. It's bananas to me. So yeah, man, in terms of, gosh, Haskins is such a monster. In terms of most important game, it's at your rival, right? It's at your rival's house. You can't lose 2 games in a row to that team. You got to show your muscle. And you can't do it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's embarrassing. Like I get embarrassed watching this right now. And that's bad because I usually don't anymore, right? I've kind of separated myself from that kind of emotion for games, right? I don't feel that way anymore. This game made me feel that way because it made me question like my knowledge of the game. You know, like it made me quite like, do I know anything? If I expected this to be a monster blowout for Michigan, like what the hell do I know after this game, right? It had me questioning my life. So yeah, man, I don't think if anyone puts any team other than Michigan State on number 1 in terms of most important game this year, I think they're crazy. If you don't think Michigan State's most important game for Michigan in 2021, you're wrong. Sorry. I'll stand by that until the day I die. Okay. All right, guys, that's it. I said 9 o'clock. I'm out. I'm sticking to it. Going to watch White Lotus. Gonna relax a little bit. Then got a 6-mile run in the morning. So got to get my beauty sleep. Okay. I'm not sure when the next stream's going to be. I'm on vacation. I'm working while I'm on vacation, but I'll be in Traverse City at a cabin with my family, working from there. But then in the evenings, I'll be with family. So no live streams next week for sure. I might get a video. I might find a video to do to be posted. But Dom Stutzman, I'll answer this, and then I'm out of here. Where would you rank a bowl game? Hard to guess what level the bowl will be. But so let's just say Michigan's going to be 8-4, 9-3. I'll give a couple scenarios. If Michigan's 9 wins or better, I don't think the bowl game means a whole lot. If Michigan is 7 wins, bowl game's really important to win just for trajectory. And if it's 6 games, it probably doesn't matter because I bet Harbaugh's already gone. All right, so that's my short answer, but it's hard to say. Okay, guys, like the video if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. Members, I appreciate you. Again, all these members, Don Sean, Noah, Dylan, Alex, Aaron, Andrew, Sam, Terry, Keno Bear, and Logan. Appreciate Dylan Girk, member, for coming by today. Take care, guys. I'll talk soon. I'll probably put something in the community tab for any plans coming up. But anyways, have a great Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. And I'll talk soon. All right. See ya.